It doesn't take a lot of money to keep your hands nice and warm during the cold winter months. In this video, it's all about cheap gloves. Now let's get right into it as I demonstrate the first pair of gloves that I want to show you today, and that is a pair of leather-ish gloves that are kind of like a little bit fit on the thin side, but they're relatively fashionable. I wouldn't say they're super warm like some of those thick mitten type gloves, but they'll get the job done. As you can see, they're made of some type of leather-ish material, at least they look like it to me. I'm sure there's some type of polyester mixture in there, probably heavy polyester, but the fact of the matter is that they're economical to buy, guys. If I lose one, I don't care. They feel pretty comfortable. You know, I'm not gonna say they're the most comfortable, but they're pretty good. And again, they get the job done. If somebody needs to borrow a pair of gloves, you know, these are not a bad idea to carry extra gloves. I think these are pretty good, but I wanna address a question that some of you may have right in the beginning of this video, and that is, why cheap gloves in the first place? Why not buy more expensive gloves that are of higher quality and may last quite a bit longer? And the reason for that, guys, is I don't think it's a matter of putting the cheap gloves versus the more expensive gloves and seeing who the winner is. We all know the winner is probably going to be the more expensive gloves. However, I think everybody should consider having cheap gloves, because if you're the type of person that is prone to losing things on a regular basis, you don't want to be replacing your gloves constantly and spending all this money on a new pair of gloves. It's much better to have a set of economical gloves, or have a few of them lying around, because they're so cheap. You could probably do that and just wear these for the most part and save your expensive gloves for the more special occasions, and use the cheap gloves for your everyday needs. In case you lose a pair, you don't have to worry, because there's not going to be such a huge economic consequence when you go to replace these gloves. Next pair of gloves that I have here, guys, is like a fleece type of material. It's very soft. It's not leather at all. It's like a cloth fleece type of material, and I think these gloves are a little bit warmer than the previous gloves because they are thicker and they do have some padding on the inside. I'm gonna try them on so you can see how they look. So these are how these gloves look, guys. Again, this review is nothing technical, guys. I'm not an expert by any means, but of course I have years of experience casually using gloves, and expensive and cheap, and I can tell you that gloves like this come in handy. These cloth gloves, there's something about them that give you a little bit of extra warmth over just your thin type leather gloves. These cloth gloves are pretty comfortable. They just feel cozy. There's something about having that fleece soft material. They're very, very comfortable, guys, and again, cheap. Links in my Amazon description, guys. I'm not gonna call out the pricing here because I just can't remember them all. But again, you can get these in a lot of places, but I'm gonna leave links, and I'm gonna clearly mark if they're soft, if they're leather type gloves, if they're warm, to make things a little easier for you to kind of browse. And then you can just feel free to buy that in your local department store. But again, the links are gonna be clearly marked just to help you in that process, or if you wanna buy through there. All right, guys, these next gloves are another type of thin leather glove. These gloves are a little bit more form-fitting, a little bit tighter on me. And as far as sizes, guys, you're gonna have to just check to see if you're like an average size person. I think medium is gonna be good. If you're a really tall person, large is gonna be the way to go for you. But again, it just depends on your hand size. It varies with everybody, depending on, you know, if you're a large frame person or small frame or whatever. Everybody's a little bit different. You're gonna have to try that on for yourself. But don't forget, with Amazon, if you buy through there, you have a lot of flexibility with returning and exchanging items, so you don't have to worry about that. I usually wear large, but again, it just depends on your size hands, but you're just gonna have to do trial and error for yourself on that. But these gloves are just another version of the leather type gloves. They look pretty good. I could probably use them for maybe for driving or just going out, you know, going with a nice pair of a nice outfit. You know, they're pretty nice, cheap, guys, as well, very cheap. Next pair of gloves is North Face. they're pretty warm, and as you can see, guys, they fit pretty good. They form to your hand quite well, and I think you can get a decent, for being kind of thick, I think they provide a decent amount of dexterity, and you're able to handle things. None of these gloves that I've shown so far are gonna be good for touchscreen devices, just so that you know, but I think these are pretty decent. I feel that I can touch things and have good sensation when I'm wearing them, but they do feel pretty warm as well. Next pair of gloves is gonna be another set of cloth gloves. These are thicker and just another variation of those. These have some straps on the end that you can use to adjust the opening at the wrist so that snow and air and cold air doesn't get in there. Let me just try them on, see how they look and feel. And here you go, guys. They are, again, the cloth variety, pretty thick. I think these are thicker than the North Face ones. They don't have that dexterity feeling that the other ones have. I don't feel as much, but I think these will be just as warm, if not even a little bit warmer than the previous gloves, because they're a little bit thicker. I think these are good, guys. I like the way these feel. That's the beauty about having cheap gloves, guys. You could have a wide variety and have basically a glove for any occasion, any mood that you're in, any temperature, you know, any weather, if it's, you know, wet weather, if it's dry weather, but super cold, snowy, whatever the case may be. I think these cloth gloves are great for cold temperatures. Maybe not so much for, you know, submerging in water or picking up wet snow all the time. But I would say, as far as like just snowy temperatures, cold winter months, I think these cloth gloves are go, guys. They're pretty good. These are one of my favorite type of gloves, guys. These are thinner gloves that you can wear that maybe are more fashionable, more colorful. They're not super protecting against, you know, the elements. They're not shock proof. They're not, you know, you can't handle sharp objects with these and expect to be fully protected, but they're pretty good. Any kind of a layer on your hands in the winter is going to be better than nothing, and these are pretty good. These are not going to be your super warm gloves, guys, but I can tell you, I feel a lot better with these. I can actually feel and grip with these gloves. So these are good gloves if you want to be able to maybe do some winter sports, skiing, snowboarding, or whatever, and you want to be able to hold things and control things with a little bit more dexterity, but still provide a little bit of warmth. It's always going to be a trade-off, guys. You're always going to have to trade off super warm, super thick gloves that have those features with the slightly thinner gloves that give you a little bit more dexterity and functionality. Before I actually get into the next pair of gloves, let me just say a little bit about phones and technology and wearing gloves and what you want to look for there. None of the gloves that I showed in this video up until this point have the dexterity and the touchscreen compatibility to be able to touch the phone's screen but still have your gloves on. However, this pair of gloves that I'm going to show you, they're still pretty cheap, and guess what? You can actually use them without taking them off, and the phone screen will be able to register the actual touches. These are touchscreen compatible gloves. So if you're gonna go buy gloves like this somewhere else, guys, make sure that you see that type of language in the description of the product, that they're touchscreen compatible with your smart devices. And these are the gloves right here, guys. So these gloves are gonna be your thinner variety gloves. They're not gonna be super thick, obviously, because they're just so feature packed in terms of they provide warmth, they give you good dexterity, they're very form-fitting. I wouldn't say they're heavy-duty gloves by any means, but they give you some warmth, and I like them. They look like regular gloves, but if you look at them really close, you're gonna see that they do have a little bit of a thin material on the fingertips, and that's what gives them the ability to be touch compatible so that you can operate your smart devices such as your cell phone, your tablets, your laptops that maybe have a touch screen. If you go to the Amazon hub to pick up a package, you have to use the touch screen sometimes. You can do that with these gloves. They're pretty good at registering touches on most smart devices. So again, look for touchscreen compatible features on these thinner type gloves, and you'll be able to basically have the warmth of the gloves, but without having an inconvenience of having to take off and remove your gloves every time you're going to use your phone. And I think that, you know, having super thick gloves, guys, it's a little bit overrated unless it's super duper cold. I think you can't go wrong with these gloves. I love these gloves. So with that said, guys, hope you got something out of this video. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.